Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session titled SD-WAN, SASE, and Intelligent Automation. Where is enterprise networking technology headed? It's my honor and privilege to welcome the highly esteemed panelists for this discussion, and let me introduce them. Mr. Amit Malik, MD, Service Provider Segment, Asia Pacific, Japan, and Greater China, Cisco. Mr. Saurabh Mittal, Head, Solution and Integration, Network R&D, Bharti Airtel. And Mr. K. Vikram, Senior Director, Industry Verticals, HPE. Now, let me take a couple of minutes to perhaps set the context for this discussion before I, move over the mic to the experts here. So, the networking and security markets are clearly converging. Security is a top of mind issue for a vast majority of companies, governments, and institutions, and with good reason. They've all been witnessing increased number of security attacks, which are increasingly more complex and more sophisticated. And also, more importantly, the threat vectors themselves, they have moved. So market drivers, including increased number of remote workers, migration of enterprise applications away from enterprise data centers, proliferation of IoT devices, mobility, and now 5G and Wi-Fi 6 coming into the picture, they're all driving networking and security to convergence. Now, these are not two separate discussions. These are one single converged discussion. There's huge convergence between NetOps and SecOps. Now, think back to the end of 2019. At that point in time, enterprises were evolving IT infrastructure at a moderate pace to reduce costs, be more competitive, and improve their overall ability to adapt to an increasingly digitized world. That was already happening. Now, whether they were migrating workloads to the cloud, virtualizing network functions, diversifying mobility, or moving applications and services closer to the edge, digital transformation was already steadily evolving the business landscape. Then came COVID-19, and in less than 12 months, digital transformation went from that steady evolution to an absolute imperative, accelerated by a suddenly remote workforce and the realization that the network, especially user access to data, services, and applications, and its security are the lifeblood of business. Conversations in the C-suite quickly changed in tone, focusing on one crucial question. And that question was, how quickly can we pivot and securely update or even rebuild our network to provide for future business continuity and remain competitive? So even as businesses now continue to traverse the challenges of the pandemic and remote working is still in vogue, they are building on digital transformation strategies and investments so they can quickly rebound to recovery. Into this whole mix, enter the whole notion of SASE, which is an emerging architecture that combines an organization's network and security functionalities into a cloud service that operates closer to endpoints and distributes traffic quicker than traditional network services. By uniting an organization's necessary network and security services like firewall as a service, secure web gateways, zero trust network access, and cloud access security broker into one single platform, SASE aims to simplify network and security management. So with that background, let me turn to the expert panel here and maybe first come to you, Amit. Amit, in your opinion and from what you are seeing, what are the trends driving the shift to software-centric cloud networking and security? And what factors are driving the trends themselves? So kind of what and why of things.
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much and good afternoon, everyone. I think you pretty much laid the context very well, Arun. I think the complexities for a CISO today are a lot more than it ever were. Right? We used to live in a very simple world where there used to be one data center or application residing there. And we thought that was complex and we had to do all the security for that data center. And the world is kind of really changed in this last decade. with so much of remote workforce coming in. And you rightly said, I think COVID was probably the biggest disruptor. And post COVID, now digital transformation is not a question of when we do it, it's an imperative, you have to do it. In fact, it is said now that if there is anything that can be digitized, has to be digitized, right? And with that comes the complexity of security. As I said, there was a time when we used to have 80% of internal traffic and probably 20% of internet traffic, and everybody was going through the data center. That's where your applications used to reside. But today, they could be residing out of anywhere. You can consume your applications anywhere, anytime. Now, this gives a totally new dimension. And this trend is what is leading to SASE, where we are saying if it is going to be consumed at the edge, that has to be the most secure. There are data points to prove that as well. If you see the most threats don't really happen in the data center. It's very difficult to breach that because you've kind of guarded that so well. The biggest number of threats are actually happening in your branch offices, or more importantly, your remote workforce. That is the weakest link. And if that is the weakest link, that also has to be the most secure. And that's why we say the security of the edge is so paramount. And these trends, coupled with the complexity, is leading us to work towards simplicity and agility. And that's where the entire software-defined network concept comes in. And SASE leads to that, where it says, how do we converge all of it and let it be consumed as a service, make it so simple that today writing a policy is a one-time effort. You don't need to do that again and again, right? You need to have a single pane of glass to do your control, do your orchestration, right? Because you don't need to be working with multiple systems, right? You need to have one system to ensure that you have an overall visibility, which also allows you so much more flexibility to correlate threats. Yeah. So coupled with all of these things that I just spoke about and what you alluded to, I think that's what is causing this significant trend to move in the direction of SASE.
And very well said, Amit. Couldn't agree more with you. The data center is no longer the center of the enterprise network, and it is the anytime, anywhere access that is a must for the workforce, for the whole ecosystem of folks who are working along with you, who need anytime, anywhere access to your enterprise applications. And proliferation of mobile endpoints, remote workforce, that is making the whole situation so complex. And you're right. I mean, a lot of times the threat emanates from within. The data centers in themselves are secure, whether they are in the cloud or the enterprise data centers. It's the threat from within that is so sort of all pervasive and needs to be taken care of. So much action now shifting to the edge, and the edge needs to be secured as well. So, very well laid out in that sense. Now, Saurabh, coming to you, in the light of what Amit has described, in your opinion, how can SASE redefine and optimize security in the current atmosphere of security attacks, threats, and AI-based hacks? What's your opinion there?
Thanks, Arun, and good afternoon to everyone. It's great to be on this panel and sharing my thoughts. So before I answer that, let me just add to what you, Arun, said and what Amit also followed up, right? I think the COVID-19, in my sense, actually has been more multidimensional outcomes. If you look at, of course, it has led to the faster adoption of the digital space. And I think the second part, which I would like to say, is that there is more secular demand across the regions now, right? In terms of our workforce, a lot of infrastructure was something which was built around the, dense urban centers. Whether it was broadband, whether it was high-speed internet access. Now, you see with this, last year's pandemic also has meant that this demand is now more, balanced even in the, suburban areas, even in the rural areas, or in the states or regions which were traditionally not that well connected. I think that has been the one of the second outcome, that there is a demand which actually which has proliferated to the not so well connected areas. I think the third part is that in terms of how the requirement is coming, I would say there is a stacking of requirement. It starts with saying there is a basic connectivity needs. then it turns to the reliability part. And of course, I mean, what is paramount is the security part of it. And if I were to say that, I mean, these are interconnected requirements. It's not that I mean, you can look security as an outside of the connectivity part. I think that's the third part of it. And fourth, which of course both of you mentioned, that what I mean, increasing digital adoption also has meant is that there is an increasing cyber threat. I think, and all the data points are there to suggest that almost all the organizations have been, I mean, victims of more threats coming from various sources. And I mean, of course, as you rightly mentioned, that I mean, a lot of threats are coming in from within, and some threats continue to remain in terms of very basic in nature as well, right? I mean, for example, email-based hacking threats continue to be one of the key, I mean, challenges even now. Of course, the way I think those security solutions have evolved, the hackers also have relied on these basic mechanisms, but making them far more effective. I mean, using AI and things like that you mentioned. Now, in that context, I think what is coming out very clearly that providing the connectivity and providing the security, these cannot be thought as two different, I mean, parts of the problem, right? I think what Amit also mentioned is that this has to be secure by design. I think we have to look at what you mentioned around zero trust network access, right? I think this I'm saying is that we can't have security as an afterthought. I think this is something which has to go towards the design, and which is where we see that SASE is an integral part of the connectivity evolution. I think earlier, most of the organizations, the way they were architecting their networks, it was always being thought that, okay, there is going to be a branch office wherein you probably will put, I mean, many of these devices to secure them, right? But as these are going to become smaller, right, and the remote workforce come into picture, then the cloud-based security platforms, which are inherently being enabled by SASE, becomes, I would say, very fundamental way of thinking and architecting the network. And that's what I would say, that SASE is a very, very natural evolution in that step. And I think it enables the IT managers, the CISO, to actually essentially simplify the security-based challenges and overcome them.
Fantastic. And I think you made some very good points. You know, in the COVID scenario, the sort of dispersion of the endpoints and the need to provide secure, stable connectivity to far-flung regions where, you know, the native connectivity may not be that strong. And to add to that, there is the stacking of requirements that you alluded to, which makes it far more complex. And you have to approach it with a sort of mindset where connectivity goes with a security first mindset. And the two are interlinked, but it's the security first mindset that will hold you steady in that sense. And that's where the whole SASE frameworks, that comes into play. And that's something that although it's sort of evolving as we speak, but definitely that is where it is going, is what you said. So agree with that. Thank you so much. Now, Vikram, coming to you, in the light of what Amit and Saurabh have discussed, in your opinion, how would the network of the modern enterprise look? And what would be the core technologies that would make up the framework of the sort of new or evolving network architecture, given the background that we have already discussed?
So firstly, on this thing where we started from, where Amit and Saurabh described, what they did, it's wonderful that, just this 4 letters, SASE, has perhaps kind of condensed all that we perhaps need to discuss. It talks about a secure access and a service edge. And, for many of us who have now lived this hybrid world and the edge, today we even having this fireside chat, perhaps from each of our respective edges, right? So coming back to this, SASE that we talk about, the service edge obviously means there is a context, and the context is that there is a microservice or there is something going on there. If you look at that and what we've done over the years, and I think somewhere Amit and Saurabh referred to this briefly, we traditionally started with data centers, at which time it was perceived to be that anything outside of it was not of so much value. But today, the apps and data have no specific place, perhaps, of or a premise of residence, right? So we've hence now steadily moved from building appliances as a confluence of all the things that we do around the apps and data, and then we kind of abstracting the code, software code, to run that hardware platform. And hence the real IP actually is in the software that delivers the value, and so the focus has shifted everything to what is software defined. And as even HP, we saw the progress in the elements like virtualization, containerization, and so on and so forth, and the large-scale proliferation of cloud, as we have all seen. So we believe, the platforms of the future definitely are going to be a lot more cloudified. The network operations, for instance, when we launched Aruba Central, for instance, we moved the network management platform from being in-prem to being on cloud. So you would see many of these aspects now going a little more hybrid in the context of the fact that the whole world is going to be sort of cloud-enabled. It's going to be edge-centric. And, in fact, it's going to be intelligent edge all the same. And, a lot more software-defined. That's how we see it.
Absolutely perfect. I think you hit the nail on the head, and very succinctly as well. So I quite love that the way you sort of built up to it by saying that SASE in itself, the sort of nomenclature itself encapsulates and gives a direction to what the evolving architectures would be. Apps and data not having a permanent residence, so it's not physical anymore. It's more software-centric. It's cloudified. It's multi-cloud. It's virtualized. It's all about intelligent edge, and it's really the IP lies in the software centricity, and henceforth the architectures would have to sort of keep pace with that kind of a requirement. So absolutely agree with that. And let me sort of then turn it back to Amit. Amit, you work with a lot of CISOs in your business, and in this currently evolving scenarios, what would be your advice to CISOs as to how do they get past all the past strategies and investments that were very data center focused, and those were the call of the time at that point in time. But now in this scenario, having made those investments, how do they now pivot to this new world where the connectivity and security is converging? It's multi-cloud, it's hybrid, it's intelligent edge, it's software centric, and no longer is the data center the center of the universe, so to speak. How would you be advising them?
So as I said, I think even SASE is really it's an evolutionary journey. I think, and all CISOs need to understand that threats are evolving. So while the threat journey is evolving, the mitigation of threat journey also evolves, and that's why we really need to keep pace, because the scenario today is not what it was probably a few years ago, like each one of the speakers pointed out. So as a CISO, I think the way we see the world is evolving into, and is definitely something which is software defined, is something which is cloud centric, but it is also something which has to be very agile. So, and that is why what you have to decide is a process which allows you to mitigate your threats in a much more agile fashion than ever before, right? We also see the future as fairly a service model, right? Where you see all of this coming up as a service model. And that is where there's going to be a big shift in the way a CISO also thinks, right? Where we wanted everything on-prem, but today the world itself has changed, because your threat is really at the edge of the cloud, because that's where the problem lies. And that is why your solutions also lie there. And that is where the CISO will have to evolve this whole thinking of how do we converge the network as well as the security, right? Now that's again a big shift, right? Easier said than done, because there were different stakeholders in an organization, right? On the network side of the thing and the security side of the thing. But now with the convergence that we're talking about with the network, security, identity, all of that converge, you need to have a holistic discussion, right? Because now you can't take any of that in isolation. So that is going to be a big shift. And I think the future will call for a lot of learning and unlearning for everybody, not only just the CISO, but there's going to be a huge amount of skill set issues which will come in, and one will have to get prepared for a new world. Yeah.
Fantastic, Amit. And I think that's the way to go, really. And again, you hit the nail on the head. But I'd like to turn to Saurabh to get his comments on the same question. You know, put yourself in the shoes of the CISO today, and what would you be thinking?
Arun, rather let me flip this around, right? I mean, I would say that as a service provider and providing solutions to our customers, I mean, large enterprises, medium,
Right.
small scale. So I would say that, okay, this is what we hear from our customers, right? I mean, what kind of requirements do they put up? And what we hear is essentially one aspect, what Amit mentioned definitely is the agility. And the second part is the flexibility. I think what we hear is that they are not saying that, okay, there is one size or one shoe fits all kind of an approach. And I think all the companies or various organizations, they have different way of approaching their solutions, right? The people coming from, of course, BFSI kind of industry, they would have security as a paramount requirement. But there are many other customers from whom maybe the connectivity reliability is far more important at this stage of time, at this point of time. So what I'm saying is that what we essentially hear is multi-pronged approach from the CISO. And to be fair to them, I think the last year has been extremely challenging and far more for the CISOs per se. So if I were to take their sides, I would say that they have really adapted very well and rose to the challenge in last 1 year. I think, of course, COVID has been a disruptor, but I mean, especially kudos to the Indian captains. I mean, they have essentially handled the situation really, really effectively. And what I'm saying is beyond that, coming to agility and flexibility, having data center kind of an approach definitely gives them far more agility. But in terms of now securing where the edge security is something becoming important, of course, having a software defined approach brings together the agility and the flexibility aspects. So we see that there is a far greater demand in the market, which is coming along on those lines. But to be again fair, we also need to be cognizant of the infrastructure situation in India as well, right? I mean, there are not so many data centers. So we have been working and trying to, work with our customers and identify what is the, way to go, how and where should we be putting up these edge data centers. But again, it's a complex journey. It's not a one-day story. But we are continuing to work and evolve the networks to serve the customers and help them evolve this connectivity and security solution together with them. So over to you.
I think, again, both Amit and Saurabh, you put it very well. The need for agility, the move towards as a service models, the move towards intelligent edge, combining, again, I think the recurrent theme is combine connectivity with a security first approach. All well said. Vikram, your thoughts on the subject. What would you say to the CISO of today's times? Not an easy position to be, but what would be your advice to them?
Certainly very similar to what Amit or Saurabh spoke about. See, as networks are scaling, it is important to remove the human elements wherever there is. And the only way you can do that is by bringing in increased automation, right? In all aspects, like perhaps the zero-touch provisioning, network monitoring, management, and perhaps a cloud platform to achieve scale. So, as you remove more of these human elements, then you once again are accelerating in many ways the very Gartner-defined digital transformation, because they talk about a programmed enterprise, a more autonomous enterprise, which means that you have many microservices running, and also the fact that everything is connected and stays, and that you have a system where your machines and all the IT equipment that you have provided has its own telemetry and starts suggesting remediations which are automatic in nature. So there will be a variety of platforms and software that will come into play without a doubt. But I would imagine the best way to do it is to kind of remove as many human elements as possible in the entire cycle.
That's a great point. Intelligent automation, sort of having the system have the intelligence and the learning capability to take care of itself, recognize the emerging threats and mitigate them before they become problematic. So that's a great perspective. Now, coming back to you, Amit, and probably I will go around the table with the same question: is having said all this, how much retooling and reskilling would this require in this terms of shift to software and automation in network domains? Is this a fundamental shift? Is it an incremental shift? How much retooling and reskilling really is required?
Actually, I think this is going to be a significant one. I don't think this is, we do have enough skill sets currently, and the skill sets will need to really evolve. But then that's about everything that we see around us, because the way the technology is moving, I think at all levels, one needs to, as I said, unlearn and relearn. And I think that is going to be the order of the day going forward. And it's not going to ease anytime soon. This is going to become a way of life, like they say, the new normal for the COVID. I think it's going to become a new normal for everybody in every industry, in every technology, right? And security is not going to be any different. But this is going to be definitely a fundamental change. Uh, the way we work, the way our conventional way of addressing security has changed significantly, right? When we alluded to that in the initial discussions, how we were securing our data center earlier, and now the whole concept itself has changed. So it's a fundamental shift. It's not an incremental shift.
Indeed, a fundamental shift. I think shift in all senses of the word. Mindset shift. Of course, technology investments and where you put your investments going forward. How do you re-architect while still making sure that some of the investments you've made are still relevant, and while still looking out and seeing and trying to sort of guess, if I may say so, for want of a better word, what's coming down the line. So it is indeed quite complex. Saurabh, your thoughts on the question?
Yeah, I mean, so thanks, Arun, first for asking this, because the only fundamental issue which I have is that we generally talk about it, but how much it is acted upon, I think that's the biggest bottleneck. However, I would say, I think in some sense, COVID-19 actually has been a great teacher to all of us. So it is essentially forced all of us out of our comfort zone, including I mean, I'm speaking probably on your behalf, but I think all of us actually did lots of activities which we never thought were, I mean, probably required or we were comfortable with. And I think the new generation, I would say, has been a great teacher to all of us, right? I mean, I generally always recall how much my kids have essentially taught me using some of the online tools. So, I mean, fundamentally what I'm saying is that what is definitely what Amit said is that there is significant effort required. There is a fundamental shift which is happening. But what I'm very optimistic is that with the new generation coming up, I think they take much of these things pretty seriously, and they are very open to taking and new responsibilities. I think I probably see, black hairs teaching gray hairs in that sense, right? I mean, in this space. And to that extent, the reason also is that you would see that the hacker community or the people, the threat vulnerabilities also come from that age group, right? So I think they are the ones who essentially raise the bar in terms of what we need to do and what we need to chase. And similarly, I think solutions also are coming from that age group. And I essentially would be looking at that generation to also lead the reskilling and the retooling part of it. Of course, it is easier said than done. But yes, of course, I think all the organization have to think through it. And the second part is, as I would say, I think what is very important is that, and that's, I think, an important job the CISOs and the IT managers will have to work with the functional managers to make everybody understand that security is not only IT's job or CISO's job or the networking's job, right? I think everybody has to have security by design kind of a concept, right? So I think they have to be very, very careful. Every person has to be very careful in what they are doing. And we have seen, and I'm probably diverting from a little bit topic, even for going out for a coffee, wearing your ID card, for example, can create threats, right? So what I'm just saying is that this kind of a mindset is something, and a dialogue, internal dialogue within the organization, very fundamental. And this will be an important aspect of this reskilling, retooling aspects. And I think it will make the journey easier, more open and more transparent this dialogue is within the organization.
Those fascinating perspectives that you've put forward, Saurabh, and the first point completely resonates with me because the CTO of my house is my 11-year-old son. So this generation gets technology like no one else does. And you're right. I mean, if they were to put their mind to solving these issues, these emergent issues, the like of which we would never have seen before, probably they're the ones who have the answers. And probably maybe we should be looking at them to really come forward with those breakthrough solutions to keep us afloat. And the second point you mentioned, security is everyone's business. It's not just the IT organization or the CISO organization. Everyone has a responsibility for security. I think great perspectives. Vikram, turn to you for your thoughts on the subject.
So I was listening very intently to what Amit had to say, and no, Saurav did as well. But Saurav specifically on this thing about black and white hair. So I'm a student already, Saurav, at home. And to your point, Arun, if it's your 11-year-old son, it is my 17-year-old daughter who's the sort of a IT enabler for the entire house. Though both of us are tech people otherwise. But look. It's very apt, right? So the edge traffic has really grown, and this is only going to kind of quadruple. And to the question that you asked and Amit's reaction to it, I think the reskilling and possibly re-administering ourselves is going to be extra scale in requirement, because when you're talking about IIT and edge computing in the real sense, then you're going to have APIs of a variety of kinds that you're going to have to battle with. Just imagine that when we all started, at least when I started, you had to manage data, and that's all there was. Now it's no longer just data, right? There's data, there's voice, there is text, there is images, so on and so forth. So there's hard, there's varying types of data that you're managing at all points of time, and to provide security and secure access and all of that in a very sort of fractured context of having many data centers, unlike the data centers of the world where you just had a switch and a LAN and and then a WAN connecting it, to how it is today. I guess the shift is going to be significant, and hence always that there is going to be the need of having to lean on to somebody who can provide the right amount of advisory and professional services in this context to kind of help organizations and enterprises look ahead.
I think great points, and Vikram, what you said resonates very well. This would call for significant shifts, reskilling, retooling, and you cannot succeed alone. You have to get help. You have to lean on the right advice, the right set of people to sort of have you undertake that journey and then go through that journey successfully. So, point well taken. I have time for one quick question, and I'll again go around the table, slightly provocative. And the question is SASE just SD-WAN in a new bottle? Yes or no, and why yes or no from each of you? Maybe 2 minutes each. Start with you, Amit.
No, I think definitely not, because it's at best it would be a subset of what we're talking about SASE, because there is one element of network where SD-WAN perfectly fits in this entire convergence story. So it is definitely not SD-WAN, and it is SD-WAN plus plus. There's a lot of other elements. There is a CASB element. There is the firewall as a service element. There is the secure web gateway element. There are multiple things which are all rolled into one, combined with the network to come up with a SASE solution. So it is definitely not SD-WAN and new model.
I like that description, SD-WAN plus plus. Saurabh, over to you.
Yeah, so I think we see SD-WAN as an enabler for the SASE, right? I mean, and and as I think what we discussed, the connectivity and security are not two different dimensions. The connectivity without a secure connection, I think, is probably inviting trouble only within the organization. I think I would say that somebody earlier in one of the conference had said is bring your own device, create your own disaster. I would say it could be create organization-wide disaster. In that sense, with the remote workforce coming into picture, and all the perimeter security, which becomes very important, all the edge security, which becomes very important. Maybe I would like to take an analogy of, I mean, how do you secure a building complex, right? I mean, there would be roads and maybe multiple inputs to that, I mean, building per se, or that residential complex per se. And in that, you would need to have a checkpoint at the road which is coming towards the building, right? And that is something which is far more important to establish. But I mean, in isolation, both of them do not make any sense. And then as a result, I would say that SD-WAN, I think, is a big enabler for the connectivity, solving the connectivity issue. And then SASE solves the security issue on top of it. So in that sense, I think what Amit said, that it is, I mean, SD-WAN plus plus, but I would just add on to say that, okay, this is not and or situation, or saying that, okay, it is SD-WAN redefined. I think that's not what we are looking. We are saying this is the mechanism by which tomorrow's or today's enterprises are going to solve their remote workforce management, branch office problems, because we know, I mean, we want to give them an efficient, agile and flexible solution, which enables them to connect to all these, I mean, multi-dimensional connectivity situation. And Arun, that you began with, whether it is Wi-Fi 6 or, I mean, 5G, which is going to come in maybe later this year, next year, or, I mean, whether it is mobile connectivity or, I mean, MPLS, internet, any kind of connectivity which is secured. I think that's what essentially SASE represents. So, I mean, to that extent, it is definitely the SD-WAN is just an enabler, but we are going to a full package solution with SASE.
Great, and I like that description, SD-WAN as an enabler to the SASE framework, an inherent part of it. So thank you for that perspective, Saurabh. Vikram, you have the last word on the subject.
Sure. Okay. So, I would imagine, I just want to add on to what the others said, and they're very spot on. So I think I would imagine it's SD-WAN and security together as a cloud service. And, you would have the key elements of having the integrated SD-WAN itself, as Saurabh pointed out. There's firewall as a service, there's cloud access security broker, you have a secure web gateway, and then you have the zero trust network access, which makes the context aware security policy and enforcement, so to say, very apt. So, and there would be other recommended elements as well around network privacy and protection and all of that. So that's how that's how perhaps I would define it: SD-WAN and security together as a cloud service.
Oh, perfect. SD-WAN and security combined as a cloud service with those various elements of an enterprise security sort of built into the framework. SD-WAN as an enabler, very much part of the mix. So a big vote for SASE not being just SD-WAN in a new bottle, but sort of a step forward and evolution with SD-WAN being very much a part of the mix. So with that, I believe we are over time. And thank you so much for a stimulating and invigorating discussion this afternoon. Ever so thankful, Amit, Saurabh, and Vikram. It was my honor and delight to be with you this afternoon, having this great discussion. And with that, back to you, Chupendra and Rajiv.